I didn't expect the first 2 days to be really let off with Phoenix Suns topics. And I didn't think it was something that was going to stick. But yesterday we had the news that the Phoenix Suns were once again moving out of the way, that being one, Bradley Beal, sending him to the bench. And now what we have for this Suns team is some interesting post-game comments coming from Bradley Beal after last night's win against the 76ers. You know, as much as I want to come on here and take a victory lap on how I was right on the new look Phoenix Suns, the bench look of the Phoenix Suns, and what that could look like going forward, and Bradley Beal looked awesome last night coming off the bench, it was one game. And there is an argument to be made. Bradley Beal last night, who had 25 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 assists. There is an argument to be made that it's a one-off and that Bradley Beal was just pissed off. He's coming off the bench. He wants to show everyone that he's a starter in this league. And it was very interesting because post-game, I do the show with Locked On Phoenix Suns, as you guys know, with my guy Brendan Clean, and we were discussing this game and how it could be a one-off or how it could be potentially for more things to come. And I was very excited about what I saw last night, seeing Bradley Beal come off the bench and have 25 points and 5 assists, until I heard what he had to say last night. We all just assumed that this Bradley Beal benching was consensual, that they were talked about it, that everyone kind of had a hand in this. It turns out it's not so true. Courtesy of Dwayne Rankin, courtesy of Dwayne Rankin of the Arizona Republic, Bradley Beal was actually caught off guard to the benching. Here's what he had to say.
Were you surprised at all that they moved to add a starting line?
100%.
Had there been any indication before this might be something?
No.
What's your mindset? When they tell you've been a starter pretty much since you was a shorty. You know what I'm saying? What's your mindset now? It's now you're coming off the bench. What you thinking about?
I mean, it's kind of twofold, man. Because I'm a starter in the league. I firmly believe that. I don't believe, no disrespect to anybody, but I'm a starter.
You're supposed to.
And that's what I firmly believe. But coach made his decision. I'm not going to sit here and argue with him. I'm not going to sit here and be a distraction.
Bradley Beal had no recollection that he was going to be benched. There was no further notice of that being known, of Bradley Beal being benched. Now, what does further notice mean? I don't know. Would he have liked to know 3 weeks before the conversation actually started? Potentially. If we know anything about NBA players, it's that they have a fragile ego. Not to say Beal has one, but most do. So I was surprised last night to hear him come on here and explain that he was caught off guard. I thought for sure this was a conversation that Bud called Nurk and Bradley Beal into his office and decided, hey, you know what? This is best for everyone. But then it got even more weird. Last night as well, Bradley Beal talked about potential trade rumors and what that could look like. And if he could be moved, what he's been talked about as was tonight, basically a culmination of all these issues and the trade speculation hang over his head. Here's what he had to say last night about potential trades and if he's heard about it and what it looks like.
I'm sure you've been aware of all the other stuff, moving parts around the league, Jimmy and all that.
Yeah.
There's some speculation around the league that this is related to that. Have you thought about moving on starting line related to the bigger picture?
If so, I need to be addressed because I hold the cards. So until I'm addressed and somebody says something different, then I'm going to be a son.
It's hard for me not to laugh because Bradley Beal seems pissed off. He seems frustrated, and not pissed off in a good way. Not coming out there and playing basketball the right way, hair on fire. He is obviously frustrated with the Phoenix Suns. And it was easy last night going to a point where you see him go to the bench, and this offense looks better, and they're getting open shots, and Beal's getting to the rim, and he's scoring 25 points, but then you see these comments. And that's when it really hits you. I'm not so sure Bradley Beal and Mike Budenholzer get along. In fact, if I had to go even further, I'd say they don't. And then it wasn't me who connected these two dots together. It was my guy Brendan Clean, my co-host of Locked On Phoenix Suns. And he had said, who also didn't get along with the head coach last year? Frank Vogel and Bradley Beal. So as much as even myself have a lot of respect for a guy in Bradley Beal who's came off the bench, who has been a good soldier, who has talked about doing all the right things, there's a potential he's not playing nice with this Phoenix Suns front office, with Mike Budenholzer, because, I mean, to be fair, he has been asked to do things differently than everyone else, and he's done it consistently. So I'm not so sure after Brad's post-game comments last night if this is a one-off or if this is a sign for things to come. Because it is very possible last night was just a culmination of trade rumors, getting benched, and showing everyone else out there he's a starter. But what I think is also fair to say is Brad is clearly not getting along with this front office. He's clearly frustrated with Mike Budenholzer. And with all that being said, at some point, it does become a Beal issue. Now, he's been asked to take a step back. He's been asked to do things differently. And like a good soldier, he has done so. But if he's bickering with the front office again, it's a different front office, different head coach, same Bradley Beal. And so when you talk about a one-off, and you talk about a sign from things to come with Bradley Beal going to the bench and looking good doing so against the 76ers, although I was the person that led the charge that Beal should go to the bench and that he did look good last night, I am worried that given what he said to the media last night, that he holds the cards, that he was blindsided about being benched, that this could be a sign for more troubled locker room stories to come. And it just continues to feed into this narrative that the Suns have an issue with culture, that they have an issue in their locker room, that they have an issue with each other. And Beal last night did not do anyone favors to push away some of those comments made yesterday. And it is genuinely worrisome at this point for Beal and the Suns because last night when we were talking about it on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Brendan brought up a good point when we were talking about it, which was, and it was something I kind of knew as well, this is, in case of emergency, break glass. The reason why I was so patient for the first 30 games of the season was, well, if you send Bradley Beal to the bench and that doesn't work, then nothing's going to work. So if this benching of Bradley Beal doesn't work, this is the emergency break glass scenario. You sent him to the bench. You tried everything else that you can do. If this doesn't work, you're either A, blowing it up, or B, just understanding that you will not only never be a championship contender, but you will never be a continuous playoff team, a perennial playoff team. So last night was very telling for that being of one Bradley Beal and what had happened last night. And I got to be honest with you, I was very surprised. I expected a joyous Bradley Beal postgame, understanding that he continued to buy in. He was the star of the night. He showed everyone what it took to be a good soldier, take less shots, take less three-pointers, come off the bench for goodness sake, and do it in style. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that is not what Beal decided to do post-game. It wasn't necessarily fire and brimstone, but it was a little concerning. and letting everyone know that he holds the cards and acting like, and potentially this is true, that trade rumors that are swirling this team, he hasn't been addressed by them, which I'm assuming he had been, but maybe he hasn't. It is definitely a concerning aspect for this team so far, dealing with what is a turbulent, to say the least, Phoenix Suns regular season that I thought at this point we were just past, but when one problem goes away, another one shows up with this Phoenix Suns team.